Alan, tell us your South by Southwest Film Festival highlights, starting with the barbecue.
Yeah, the barbecue was great. Yeah, I basically, it's so expensive there, especially the Uber. So I decided to do Uber Eats, and not a real plug for Uber Eats, but when you sign up for the Uber one, you get 40% off of several meals. So I bought like $40 worth of barbecue for like $20. So I was very happy. And you can see me eating it on the Oscar watch party. Yeah, this is, Chris and I have been having a lot of behind the scenes discussions about festivals, the nature of festivals. And, this one, it was kind of like it got fun and then it got woke. It got really woke about midway through. And, there were some documentaries I saw that it was like, oh, I totally agree with what's going on here. One was about the agricultural business or agricultural crisis here in America. The other one was about GameStop and the, basically the rise of the retail investors. And it was great. I was loving it. I thought the message was great. And then it went woke. And so this is, and then there was like all these Planned Parenthood documentaries. There were immigration documentaries, immigration stories. And it's kind of like you realize, yeah, there's kind of this political bent that's kind of going on here. But I'll just give you some. The other thing is it's hard to talk about a lot of these films because they're kind of missing the genre stuff. It becomes these political movies and TV shows, and it was like, well, what do I talk about on the stream? And there's a sense of, just how much are you going to be interested in it? And so I'll just give you a few highlights. The film for me was Late Night with the Devil, and that stars David Dastmalchian, who was on our show a couple weeks ago, and actually talked about this film a little bit. But the idea of this movie is it's part of the Midnight series. David Dastmalchian plays a late night talk show host from the 70s, kind of your Johnny Carson, Michael Douglas type. His ratings, he's syndicated, his ratings are going down. He needs to bring them back up again. And so he decides that before his show ultimately gets canceled, he's going to do one last stunt for Sweeps Week. And that's to make it a kind of a Halloween special, a Halloween episode. And so the guests include a medium who can talk to the dead. He then brings on this amazing Randy type guy who used to be a psychic, but now debunks psychics. And then he brings on this woman who wrote a book called Conversation with the Devil, and that she is a paranormal psychologist. She has a current client named Lily, who is demon possessed from a religious cult, and then David Dastmalchian's character gets her to basically unleash the demon for ratings for the audience. And the whole show is set up, the whole movie is set up as this is the last episode of the talk show. And so they're going to play the episode in its entirety. So you're watching the beginning of the episode to the end, plus there's some interstitials during commercial where you see kind of the behind the scenes. And tonally it's got this 70s feel, which is kind of fun. Basically you kind of know what's going on. The demon gets loose, and then the audience and the guests are kind of at the mercy of it. And that's kind of how the movie plays out. It's just a lot of fun. It is a whole lot of fun by these two Australian guys. Absolute blast. And that's probably the only movie I saw that would be of any interest on this stream. Maybe John Wick 4 was the other one.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is John Wick 4 and Dungeons and Dragons premiered at South by. When I looked at that, and then I saw like all the movies that are playing that are like, it just was not.
Yeah.
I decided at the last minute, I canceled my flight. Yeah. I just didn't go because I thought, well, Alan's going. We have another writer that went. Sabina DePlace went as well. You can read the reviews on filmthreat.com. There's a lot of Southwest reviews, but I'll say this. Here's what I'm very disappointed about. I feel like there used to be back in the day of going to South by Southwest or even going to Sundance or all these or Slamdance festivals, there would be a sense of discovery, like who's going to be the next Kevin Smith or the
Yeah.
next Quentin Tarantino, the next Soderbergh, the next Allison Anders. There were so many like indie filmmakers from the 90s and early 2000s that came up and were, came up at film festivals. And that doesn't exist. It seems like young filmmakers, first-time filmmakers in their 20s, they don't have a lot to say.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, I
and
went to one screening. I'm sorry, just to bring up
please,
another
no, go
film.
ahead.
I went to one screening, and actually, Yvonne Strahovski's in this movie. It's called Scramble. But this is probably the only filmmaker I saw that has, in my opinion, potential. It was just about her experience as a 30-year-old woman who realizes that if she doesn't get pregnant now, she's not going to get pregnant, and so she decides to freeze her eggs. And it's this comedy about that. And the only thing is, it's very, the subject matter is something that you really have to be into to really get into it. But in terms of being a great writer, this I forget her name, but she was. It's like this movie was written so well. It tackles a very sensitive subject about being too old to have kids in your 30s, and you know, but she felt like that screening was the exception in terms of the kind of filmmakers that are being brought up nowadays. So I'm just agreeing with your point. It's like I don't know. We're slowly losing the ability to tell good stories and tell it well, especially through the medium of film.
Well, we're losing the ability to tell stories that aren't infused with agenda or message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There are too many of them, and
yeah,
it's gotten tiresome. The
yeah,
audience is tired of it. Tell a good story. You can have things sort of in the background. Every movie's got like every good movie to me has layers. There's more to
yeah.
talk about than what's on the surface.
Let
But
me talk
what
about
they've
one.
done is, oh please,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, because I got to go soon.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
let me.
There's a
So,
lot of
I,
questions and comments for you, Alan.
yeah, so I'll make this quick and then let's go to the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, one movie, The New Americans. It's about the retail investment. You know how Robin Hood and all the others were basically taking on Wall Street bets from Reddit. How they were taking on the big hedge funds. And it was just kind of going through it, and I was just getting into it. Yeah, the little guys are now finally able to take over the big institutions, and that's the impression I got until midway through, and the director said that this is the basis of how the movie came out. But midway through, the director made the connection between January 6th and 2 weeks later, what happens? The GameStop debacle occurred.
What?
And so yes, and so now
Embarrassing.
the third half, the last third of the movie is about January 6th and how white supremacists took over, started futzing around with GameStop. And to me, it was like, you had such a good documentary all the way up
Yeah.
until this point. You had me hook, line, and sinker, and then you just threw it. And the same thing happened with this agricultural documentary I saw. It's like, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying about how corporations are taking over agriculture, and how it's ruining not only the taste of food, the quality of food, but then halfway through it's like, yeah, but Republicans, they're the ones who screwed this all up, and boy, I wish if Democrats could only take over, and it's like, oh my God, you had me and then you lost me.
That's probably why Attack of the Dock wasn't at South by Southwest.
Yeah, probably.
It wasn't there's a message woven into Attack of the Dock. Doesn't hit you over the head. Draw your own conclusions, but it's not the right message.